Welcome to the Magpie Podcast.
Hi, welcome to an episode of the Parrot Podcast with me, Strigid, and Juusie, or Julius, or Penguins Have Knees.
Whatever's fine.
And we're going to talk about, I guess, chiefly the first, music we made under our current projects, and then, reflecting on how the projects have changed since the first little baby came.
Yeah.
So, what music or art were you making before Penguins Have Knees?
Well, I started playing guitar when I was 17 years old, I think.
All right.
And I just started playing rock, punk, and metal, basically. But I never really played in a band or anything or recorded any music. It was just, basically I did it to kill time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I got my first synthesizer when I was 19 or 20, the Arturia Microbrute, and then I started getting pedals and stuff, and the noise just basically came to me.
You mentioned during one of the hangouts after the Magpie Fest, you don't
Yeah.
listen to much noise music yourself.
No, I actually almost don't listen to noise at all, come to think of it. Really fun to make, but I mean, it's fun to listen to, but it's not something I actually look out for, I mostly still listen to metal and stuff. But I think noise on itself is pretty metal if you think about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of grindcore and similar music that mixes that with metal.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also kind of the mentality, I think, because, well, historically metal has been like a big fuck you to the rest of society. And I think noise fits pretty well with that same mentality.
Yeah. So I guess this is kind of an obvious thing, but were you really conscious of noise before you started making it?
Yeah, I definitely knew it was a thing, of course, but I never really looked into it because I thought it was just a bunch of noise. But
I actually have a similar relationship with noise. I guess now, though, the difference is that I actually listen to it in my free time and stuff. But until I started experimenting with making it, I just was really dismissive about it. And I was just like, oh, this is just noise. This is dumb. But, once I actually was like, wow, this can sound pretty interesting. And it's not easy. Well, it depends, but it's not always easy to make something interesting.
No, exactly, because sometimes it's just a wall of noise for 20 minutes and nothing really happens.
Yeah.
And then it just turns static, and I think noise should always be a bit dynamic, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so was the transition from that... It sounds like it was gradual, from just messing around with punk and metal and stuff. It sounds like it was just gradual, but was there a single day where you were just sitting down and working on noise or something, and you were like, oh, this is something that I want to do under a moniker. I want to give it a name.
Actually, yes. I have this guitar pedal, the Digitech Death Metal. I don't know if you know it, but it's like this crappy distortion pedal. It doesn't even have gain controls, just all the gain, always, just volume and free band EQ.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I read it, but someone gave me the tip to connect the because it has two outputs, one to go to a mixer, one to go to your amplifier. And someone gave me the tip to just send the mixer output to the input, thus creating a feedback loop.
Right.
And you could actually change the tone of the tone it generated with the 3-band EQ and the volume, and that was a pretty big eye opener actually.
Was it like from that day you were like you really wanted to make noise music?
Yes,
And
because then that day I actually found out you could use guitar pedals for just so much more than just your guitar.
yeah. That's
And I-
actually it's funny how much like people don't realize that. I think it's
Yeah.
as soon as someone realizes it's like, oh yeah, of course. That makes so much sense. Like how have I not tried that?
Yeah, because I owned the pedal for years, but I've never really tried to do anything with it than just playing guitar or bass through it. So
Yeah. Do you think the pedal market will ever like turn around and just call them pedals instead of guitar pedals? You think it'll be more about just music in general?
well, I'm honestly not sure because like guitar is still a pretty big thing.
Right.
I don't think the name guitar in front of pedals will ever really go away, but maybe like bigger pedal manufacturers will actually start looking at synthesizers and stuff rather than just.
Yeah, Earthquaker is cognizant of that, I believe. And like, some smaller stuff like Dwarfcraft
I
and stuff.
think there's actually one overdrive by Electro Harmonics that's like specifically made for keys, but I'm not sure anymore.
What was your like first song? Is it the material on Why Bother, or did it take a while to get to that point?
The first actual music I recorded was actually the first track on Why Bother.
Oh, okay. Nice. That's awesome. Okay, cool.
So back then I didn't really know what I was doing with making an album and Bandcamp and stuff. So I basically just recorded jams, mostly in one take, and I just upload them as an album in order how I recorded them.
Sweet.
Didn't really put any thought into it, I did
It's
put some thought into recording the stuff, but never like in a running order or something. Just I recorded this first, so this is going up first was my mentality back then.
going through your discography. When was the shift from like just doing whatever to like where you started actually making a track list with some ideas as to the flow of the album?
Well, of course, I didn't really upload a whole lot after Why Bother up to the point I'm thinking about it, but it's the collaboration I did with Epu.
Yeah.
The World is Just Patterns Inside of Freefall. We actually sat down and thought about which songs first. Are we going to do 3 of my songs first and then 3 of yours, or are we going to just scramble them together?
Mm-hmm.
And well, that collaboration actually made me think more about how I'm going to structure my albums, how I'm going to let them transition into each other and stuff.
Was that idea to structure the collab, was that initially Epu's idea, or was that something you both had in mind?
Well, the thing is, when I start working with other people, not just with music, but like projects in general, I always try to think about what the other person wants to, because I don't like being selfish, really. Then I just asked him what he would want to do, and I think he basically wanted me to think about it first. And then we came to the conclusion together that we should just split it 3 songs of mine and then 3 for his.
I'm guessing you met Epu through Pirates, the Pirates?
Yes.
Okay. That's that was that collab is awesome. It feels like the transition from your 3 pieces. Is it 3? Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Your 3s to his 3. Like there's a lot of it feels like there's a lot of thought to that, and I think it was your opening piece where it's like it has this like industrial beat.
Yeah, with the like the distorted kick drum. Yeah,
that was sweet. I don't know. That's just me gushing, but so that actually kind of answered some of my questions, like it almost in order, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where you were talking about I on Why Bother. Yeah, that was your first song. I actually have a similar experience because it's changed drastically, but I think it's the second or third track off of my first album, or my only album really. I mean, I'm working on an album right now, but it's not done.
Oh, cool.
The track Confusion, it was the first track I like really focused on synthesizers, that like I had an idea of what I was doing. I wasn't just like fucking
jams and sound checks
it was it
and
like
saying it's music.
I had an idea, and I went through with it, and it went through like two major forms, but at the end of the day, that was the first song. And I think the main like beat and the lyrics were the two things that like kept consistent throughout the whole like transitional period of going through two big forms. But that was that's interesting. I see. That's I don't know. That's kind of why I wanted to do this as a talking point in the podcast, because I have that relationship with that song. You are my first baby, and like you're the like shining little example of what I do now, and that's like, I don't know, that's kind of special, because I don't know, going back to my other musical projects, the first stuff I made on them were ass, and like I wouldn't.
You have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, you do, but it's rarely that you get to start somewhere where you feel really comfortable with it.
Well, I didn't decide to start recording until I actually felt comfortable with it, if you get what I mean.
Okay, all right, so that makes sense. So where did the Penguins Have Knees come from?
Well, I
love that name, by the way. I just have to say,
I heard it a lot, but basically I just love knowing like these useless facts that won't get you anywhere in life.
Right.
And one of the most useless facts I knew at the time was that the fact that penguins have knees, because why would you need to know that?
Right.
No, I just came to me, I thought, yeah, fuck it, that's what I'm going to name myself for everything.
Yeah.
This is how the world's going to know me.
It's a stellar name. And it's super, at least for your seminal stuff, the noise stuff, it's very subversive, like you wouldn't expect. It's an odd name, like obviously in a good way. So you wouldn't expect to like tune into like some cheery music, but maybe not.
I mean, I have some cheery music.
Yeah, no, you definitely do, obviously. It seems like quite early on Fence Posting, your second release. The open window, it's kind of like beautiful, and it's not as devastating as the noise stuff before it.
Yeah, there was just like a little experimenting bit, really, because I uploaded the White Bother EP album, I want to call it, and then just some random Bandcamp page, I guess, contacted me about this field recording thing from back in the day, and they wanted to revive it, so they just tried to get as many experimental artists as they could to resample all these field recordings. So this project was really my first attempt ever at using samples. It's not just samples, but the background noise and stuff is samples, and I think I have some kind of repeating sequence lead part on there, and that's my microbuild.
Was that like a local thing in Netherlands, or was?
I honestly don't have a clue where they're from. I think they're from like, it could have been France or something. I don't know. It's just 3 or 4 volumes of that stuff right now, and it has like 80 different tracks each.
Wow.
From all different people. So, but yeah, it was fun to do, because then, it was the first time for me using samples, and I kind of wanted to experiment with it, because that's probably mostly what I do, is just experiment, and then I roll with the sound I get, and then I have an EP or an album.
The first track that I made under Strigid was also the first time I experimented with samples. It was, so originally the song was a loop based off of one of Aphex Twin's like side projects songs. There's this really, it's just like a killer intro to this song called Serge Phenix, and it like just, I don't know, it like always just appealed to me the way it like kind of like had this odd rhythm thing going on and like slipped between, and I like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to make sample based music, but at that point I was like, yeah, I wanted to try it, and I actually went through the trouble when I was originally working with that iteration of the song. The sample isn't in the song now.
Yeah.
But I went through the trouble of like contacting Warp and seeing if it was like, if there was something that I could, if there was something I could organize or if I would have to pay or something. And they said no. So I was like, fuck that. I deleted the project files. I got really upset, and it was just like, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and the only reason that song still exists, and thank God I didn't delete it, it was because I had like shared it with some friends, the first demo or something. Like I shared it with some friends, and I still had it on my Dropbox. So I was like,
oh wow, that's lucky.
Yeah, I was like, thank you.
But like you didn't have the project files anymore. You just had the audio.
Yeah, so I basically I just kept the main beat and built it up from the ground from there. I mean, at that point, I didn't want to use the sample. I didn't want to use anything because the sample was probably the biggest thing. There were some things that I wish I still had. So, like, don't ever delete your project files, people, if you're thinking about getting into music. But, like, because you never know. Like, now I never do that. I never delete project files. I always keep everything. I keep it well backed up. I don't fuck around with that because I know that'll happen again.
I should probably make backups.
Do you ever send your music to like friends or close people you're close with before you release it?
Well, pretty much quite literally all of my music goes to Apu before I upload it to Bandcamp.
Oh wow, that's awesome. That's a really cool.
Yeah, I feel I really connected with him on a personal level, so yeah, I just really want to know what he thinks. He sometimes helps me with the running order of the songs.
Mm-hmm. Does that help you like say, okay, this is finished, you know?
That's a good question, really. I usually already exported all this stuff when I send it to him, but sometimes I make like a small mixing change or
so it's not so mixing
a little bit of reverb because he knows quite a lot about mixing and mastering, and I don't.
Mixing is it's hard to do for yourself because you listen to it so much on a loop.
And also I don't have like monitors or anything. I just use my headphones. It's not always.
You don't do like car mixes or anything? You don't go out in your car and listen to it?
I mean, I don't have like my own personal car, driving my mother's car. But
okay.
Yeah, I just use my cheap Audio-Technica headphones.
Yeah, I mean it works. Your stuff sounds amazing. So
thank you.
I can't say I would have guessed it.
So yeah, basically when I think it sounds good on my headphones, it sounds like all the other music I listen to, and then I reckon it's good. If it's not good, I'll just hear it from people.
Oh, and a thing I noticed between some of your releases, Pocket Full of Room is a year like directly. It's December 11th, the same day as Why Bother, right?
What? Really? Wow.
Oh, you did?
I've never noticed that before. No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so that's pretty amazing.
That was just, okay. Nice. That was completely coincidental, huh?
Yeah, I don't plan that much ahead, to be honest.
Nice.
I just go through life and I just see what gets me.
Yeah. So, do you don't like work with personal deadlines or anything like that?
Not really, no.
No.
I mean, most of the stuff I have on my Bandcamp I made in a day or two.
Nice. Wow. That, it makes sense how you've like grown such a discography in a year.
Yeah, just basically like I get in a certain vibe when I start jamming and recording music, and then I just feel like I have to just record an album or an EP because I might not be in the same mood or vibe again after a week.
You feel that your mood kind of affects your music on a day-to-day basis
Well,
then?
kind of, yeah.
Would you say that, I mean, obviously you don't have to go into it because it's kind of boring to talk about meaning, I guess, or and it's kind of against the whole point of making a song, I guess. I don't know. It depends on, who you are, but do you have meanings behind your music, or is it more just the music on it can like stand on itself and that's the point?
Well, it's not necessarily that I have like a lot of meaning behind my tracks. I have certain moods, I guess. Like usually when I record proper harsh noise, I'm a bit annoyed or angry, and it just helps me unload, basically. I have this one EP or album, I don't really know the details on when to call something what, but it was basically loosely based around the story of 1984.
Have you released it yet, or?
Sky Company, yes.
Oh, okay,
It's
Sky
with
Company.
With the eye.
Do you do that a lot? Do you like kind of project ideas or messages that other forms of art give you into your music, like maybe film, like, or literature, like 1984?
Well, basically just the Sky Company album.
Just the Sky Company. Nice.
And I don't really know how I came about to making that, because I haven't read that book in over 5 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
But
that's not that long. I feel like you could memorize some of the details over that.
I think I had to read it for English in high school. Didn't have to read it because I had the option to read way easier books, but I wanted to read it. But yeah, and like with the Fellow Dream album, I just didn't really have an idea of a message through the actual songs, but I just wanted bullshit names of some like makeup or cologne companies and just base the album title and the song names of that. So and then have like something completely different in the music because it's a drone album.
I feel like you could, have a makeup session to that album.
I mean, one song is 19. I guess you could.
Yeah. I feel like that would be talking too much about the meaning behind the music, but do you kind of dislike the concept of makeup and that sort of thing?
No, I don't really mind if people use makeup if they don't overdo it, of course, but it's like sometimes when you watch TV and you get like this bullshit commercial and then it turns out to be from some kind of makeup or cologne, They try to be all artsy and avant-garde, and it's just a fucking smell you can spray on yourself.
Right. Do you, when you sit down like in front of your synths and stuff to add to your music, and Dumbfounded, your most recent one, it had some guitar on it as well, right?
It's actually all guitar and bass except for the kick drum on one track.
Right. So when you sit down with your instruments, do you say, I want to make a drone, I want to make kind of this experimental stuff that kind of sounds a little cheery or beautiful, or does it just come naturally?
Well,
you think?
It's not necessarily that I sit down and say I want to make drone, I want to make power noise or whatever. But I usually just sit down and I think to myself, I want to use this specific pile of gear I have in front of me right now, and then I just start jamming a bit, and then usually something catches on and I build onto that.
I think I've rarely done that, where I want to make something that's like this, or checks off these boxes. And even when I've done that in the past, it ends up just not going that way. You know what I mean? I feel like, and for the better, obviously. Like if an objective doesn't turn out well, like I'm sure you might have this, considering you work with a lot of synths and could consider some of your sound designed. like if you're maybe trying to mimic a natural sound, or you're trying to get something close to that, and it doesn't turn out the right way. But
Well, I try not to mimic sounds. I guess I mean a lot of gear I have is because I like the sound of them on sound demos, but I always try at least to find my own sound with them.
okay, well, I mean, like I don't know. For instance, I've tried to mimic the sound of a bird, right? And the like just doing resonant filters and like using LFOs and stuff, and then it just ends up sounding like completely like something else, and I'm like, whatever, this sounds better anyway, you know.
I don't have enough of technical knowledge about all the gear I have to actually perform something like that.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes I maybe find a sound that sounds like something familiar in nature or something, and then I could use that. But it's not like I want to sound my synth to sound like a dog, so I'm going to try all this.
Dogs.
I mean, it's an interesting concept. I could try that at some point, but usually not something I do. But I did actually put some thought and effort in my latest release, and I'm actually quite proud about the album. Like, I already knew how to build a basic ambient patch with my pedals, and I could, of course, replicate the things I do with my pedals in my DAW as well. Yeah, I just wanted to do something with guitar and bass because that's kind of where my roots are.
Nice. I've been thinking about doing something similar, but I don't know. Every time, see, my relationship with guitar is I was self-taught, and it got to the point where it was just like I wasn't pushing myself to learn new skills or anything on the guitar. At a certain point, it became me just playing the same stuff over and over again, and I was like,
I've actually never played properly to a metronome before this album.
That's good. That's good. You're challenging yourself. You're reaching new horizons.
I actually feel I got a bit better at the end of it, you know?
Nice. I always love that, the part of the craft where it's you need to do something, because you have like a sound in your head, or you just have some idea, and it becomes like almost like a research project or study, and it's great.
And the thing is, with guitar and bass, of course, you can't really use a sequencer because I've been cheating a lot with that. But you know, you actually have to. I mean, you don't need a lot of skill to play guitar or bass, but you have to have some kind of skill. I mean, I probably could have learned that in the first month or two of playing guitar, but I just never bothered. That's also kind of why I called my first album Why Bother, because I didn't have any musical skills at all, because at the time I just couldn't be bothered with actually improving myself. So I thought, you know, why bother? I'm just going to slap this together and...
I understand. It works, though. I mean, that's the whole point. You know, that's like the whole idea of outsider art, where, you know, you're not classically trained, but it still gets to the point where it's conveying something meaningful. And that's, you know, you lose sight of that sometimes in academia. And I'm currently someone going through that right now by choice. It's not like I'm being pressured by anyone or anything. And I love it, but there are a lot of people who lose sight of that. And it's just, you know, they don't know what they're doing in a creative sense, or, you know, in a sense where they want to be fulfilled.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you don't really know what you're doing, can lead to some pretty great stuff, because if you wander, you kind of experiment and you pick up like little bits and pieces along the way, and you just make something with all those bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it's truly something of your own, rather than just, oh, I'm like this artist, I'm going to make this kind of music. I mean, you can still make music if you try to replicate someone else's work, but it will never truly be your own, in my opinion.
I think it's inevitable going to make something that sounds like your inspirations or something, and being able to know when to say that's just copying and this is a part of me, you know, now.
Yeah.
You know, that knowing the difference between those two things is important. The self-editing
Yeah.
It's not. There aren't classes on self-editing, which is
Wow. It's a bit,
you think about it. It's very important.
yeah.
Like going taking a break from something and listening to it and saying, okay, this is wrong, or this is not as good as it could be. Or,
I mean, I don't think there really is something as wrong when you're making.
well,
making
wrong.
it,
Yeah,
because,
wrong is of course a bad word.
I mean,
but
it's all in the eye of the beholder, but you can't really say that music is objectively good or bad, because there's always someone who's going to like something, always someone who's going to dislike something. I mean, that's also just the beauty about noise, because it just takes all these rules about music and it's just like, yeah, fuck you, I'm not going to do that. It's just.
I do love that about noise. There's so much about it that's just like focusing on the bare elements of sound and stripping down pitch and stuff from a conventional point of view, and saying, no, just make something interesting out of crackles, pops, and crashes and bangs, and it's like,
yeah, or just even a random sample and just mangle it so much that you can't recognize it anymore.
Right. Your album art, it
Yes.
varies from, like, I guess, style and ideas, I guess, as much as your music. Is there like a process you go through with album art, or do you just grab a picture, something you think resembles what you did?
Let's see, the Why Bother album art is, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's an X-ray of Penguin's knees.
Yeah.
The fence posting stuff was just a selfie I had on my phone at the time. I'll just go through all the albums, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The World is Just Pen Inside of Freefall was a picture shared in the cover art section in the Pirates Discord.
So was it an original piece that someone did?
It was just someone, I think we put a filter on it or something. And then the Fellow Dream album, I wanted to get, well, it's a drone thing, and it's like big and thick and kind of everywhere.
Thick.
Extra thick. I don't know, I just kind of felt I needed a landscape for that. So I just asking friends around, and this was just a picture close to a Discord friend's house somewhere in England, and he put a little bit of a filter on it, and it was pretty much perfect.
Man, yeah, living in front of that must be very pretty.
It's like 10 minutes from his house, I believe. He took that picture himself.
Nice.
And the Sky Company thing, of course, because it's based on 1984, I just took a close-up picture of my eye and I inverted it, like the colors.
Is that imagery, like, in 1984, is that something that's like Big Brother kind of thing?
Yeah, it's like Big Brother's always watching you.
Yeah, right.
And you watch with your eyes, so I thought just a big eye, but not like a human eye, because it's a different color and stuff.
Right.
The Pocket Full of Room album, it's like a bit of a chill. I don't really know how to call the genre, but something I made, and I basically just took a picture out of my bedroom window through a bottle of whiskey.
It looks like so many things that it's. I would never have guessed that.
It could have been a beach or some plains
like
in the desert
sunset,
or something.
or like I was at one point I was like, this could be like a symbol that's like kind of in the middle of a hit, and it's got like motion blur on it or something. Ow.
Yeah, no, it's just some rooftops I can see from my window.
Oh yeah, okay, now I see it.
Through a bottle of scotch.
Yeah, okay.
The Assorted Perceptions, it's just some, how do you call them in English? I don't...
Spinners.
Spinners,
Call them spinners.
Basically, mutable instruments, the Eurorack module, they give you toys with every module.
Oh, really?
So these came with them.
Oh.
And I used my Eurorack on that album, so I thought just take a picture of it on my desk, slap a filter on it that's standard on my phone, and I think it kind of works.
I think so.
And the picture on Dumbfounded is, well, it's a picture from like a couple of months back. I think it was in summer, maybe half a year ago. And the light, it was like 4 p.m., just entered my room in a nice shade. I've never seen it before like that, and I thought I have to make a picture of it. And I always knew I wanted to use it for an album art at some point, but never really found the right music for it, I guess.
It's like
And
a quaint thing.
Yes, it looked really cozy. I mean, the colors are a bit cold, but it's still, it doesn't feel cold if you look at it.
Yeah.
At least, like, that's what I think. I don't want to look pretentious or something, but
And you've got
So,
the teddy in the window.
yeah, of course, I've had that for let's see, that's from 2002, so I guess I've had it for a while. But yeah, I put a filter on it because why not? Yeah, I made it Mark, and probably one of the best pictures I ever took. I mean, the room is a complete mess, but
the composition is just it's on point. Yeah.
This is just how I live.
Yeah. If you're gonna take a picture of your room, it's very dishonest to like shape
Hide
it
stuff.
up, and if you don't normally do that.
No, I don't live like tidy at all. Yeah, I mean, if I clean my room, I usually can't find anything. I mean, if it's a mess, I know exactly where my stuff is.
That's a good way of looking at it. It's not a mess though. I wouldn't call that like awful. I've lived with some proper assholes, and they, it's.
Let's just say this is a good angle.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Right.
You should see my cables at my PC. That's just...
Well, what are you gonna do with cables? I mean, you work with Eurorack, so I think true nightmare of cables.
I mean, I guess there is order and chaos, right?
Yeah, right.
If everything's a chaos, everything's in order. So
something I've noticed on your Bandcamp releases, Penguin Core.
Yeah, I don't know. I basically thought about it because my name was Penguins Have Knees.
Right.
And nobody knows what Penguin Core is. Even I don't know, so I just put it in
so
there.
You wouldn't be able to describe like. Oh man, what kind of music do you make? Penguin Core. What? Like you wouldn't be able to describe that to someone.
And I just keep lying about it like it's a real genre. And
No,
you're actually the first person to notice that, I think.
There's a lot of good stuff. I think that's like the ultimate like fuck you to genre like obsessed. Like,
yeah,
we're artists tend to be so obsessed with labeling things. Like obviously it's a cliche.
I don't really give a whole lot of shits about how people label their music, but I just love, creating bullshit genres that just don't exist.
Yeah.
Like something like a post-apocalyptic crustacean core or something is just... Some hipster is probably going to steal that idea, but...
Yeah. Someone else has used Penguin Core.
Really?
Yeah. Have you noticed that?
I've never Googled it, really.
Yeah. It's someone on Bandcamp.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The other tags include Crabcore, Ninja Star to the I Core. Why? Fuck you. That's why.
I've heard of Crabcore, but
yeah, Crabcore is a real. I think it's a real thing. I mean, it's an ironic thing, I think, but
yeah, it's like where the guitarist stands like with his legs all spread out, and
maybe you and Will Colvin have stuff in common. I don't know. I haven't listened to any of this stuff.
But yeah, it's music. Will Colvin's album art looks really inspirational.
There's a lobster on your keyboard.
That too? I mean, why is he asking where his lobster is?
Yeah, it's right there.
He took a picture of it, for Christ's sake.
Idiot. God. So, we were talking about how you recorded. You said most of your stuff is just jams. Do you do a lot of posts, like overdubs and stuff?
Well, actually, for my last album, I tried to make an effort of producing something worthwhile, I guess. So I don't think not anything on that album is like one take or anything. I had to play the stuff, so of course nothing is first take.
Right, yeah. You can't play bass guitar and guitar at the same time.
No. Well, of course I have more that's multiple tracks, but usually I have some kind of idea what I want to do, and then I just improvise a bit and then do some effects afterwards, and that's it.
Do you run through like pedals? Because you mentioned earlier before the podcast started, you don't use VSTs.
Well, I like my DAW has built-in VSTs, I guess,
okay. All
but I don't use any outboard stuff because I literally can't.
Oh, wow. What interface do you use?
I use the Focusrite 2i4 interface.
Mm-hmm. I always love getting a sense of like what the other interfaces are capable of. Just the regular USB. It's 2.0, right? Just USB 2.0. The Focusrite.
Yeah, 2.0. I think. Yeah.
It's good. It's always good to get a good idea of, because there isn't like a huge library where you can sort through all the music that is used certain interfaces. It's not something that's too important, but it's always a good idea.
Well,
like if you're
of course, it depends on what kind of music you're recording. Like if you have a proper recording studio, you're not going to use a 2i4, because if you want to record some real drums, you already need like 8 microphones or something.
Right. Well, I guess just for the purpose of like trying to figure out, because most people when they write reviews on like Sweetwater or whatever, like online, Amazon, whatever, they're not like, here's my demo of using it. And even then, like the demos, that people post on YouTube, they're generally not finished songs.
Yeah, well, the thing is you can't really hear what interface someone uses.
Right, yeah, you can't, but
it's just a means to send your sound to your PC. But
yeah, but obviously the idea is that the higher level interfaces, and the preamps and stuff, obviously,
I guess if you actually make proper music, but
I wouldn't not call your music proper.
But like if you make noise or something, or like drone or something that has a lot of distortion on it, you don't need those crisp analog sounds.
I don't know.
I mean, if you record real analog music, like a folk band or something, you need to be able to capture pure sound in the room. Mm-hmm. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. See, that's the thing. As there are people don't always talk about that. Like, I don't know if noise musicians record to tape or something like that.
I wouldn't know. I don't really pay attention to noise.
Right.
It would seem a bit counterproductive to record wall noise to a real deck or something.
I don't know. You never know. It might. I mean, have you gone down the rabbit hole with like tape manipulation stuff from the 70s, 80s?
No, because I can't for the life of me find a tape recorder. Okay,
so tape, there's like a bunch of really interesting musicians that use tape in the 70s and the 80s, and the same people use stuff like early computer music as well, where it was just like they were programming in pitches and it sounded like early noise music.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like Kraftwerk, you know them, I guess.
Yeah.
They started in like the late 60s. I mean, that was unheard of. It sounds so futuristic still.
Yeah.
Like, with all the... It almost sounds digital while just using like analog synthesizers and stuff. It's just about how you use gear, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Some of the tape manipulation stuff you hear... I have a record from the 70s where it's just like music ensemble of like classical musicians. They're kind of like experimenting and like doing weird shit. And the composer, he's telling them what to do, but then, he records it and then slows everything down to a crawl, and it sounds incredible. I would consider it,
like a drone, or
like a drone. It sounds like drone music.
That's actually how I made a couple of drone tracks. I don't think it's on my Bandcamp, maybe on like the sample collab. It's just I pick a random sample and I just slow it down to 1%, and it just creates this beautiful drone. Almost doesn't matter what sample you use, really.
Right.
Which tape manipulation always seemed interesting to me, I guess, because that's also how the flanger effect was created.
Right.
So I know I might look into it. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, I hope to get into tape at a certain point. I don't know when. Probably when I'm out of school and I don't have
Yeah.
other financial, too big financial stuff.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I
I'm
mean?
just going to start school again in February, so I won't have money at all
Yeah.
for at least another 4 years.
Do you study anything artistic or?
No, it's basically just programming and stuff on my
Okay.
computer. Just something I can get a proper job with, so I will have money to spend on useless music gear.
Do you think you'd apply that knowledge to your music at all? Like make your own plugins and stuff like that?
That would be pretty cool, I guess. I've never really thought about it like that, but
Yeah.
I just might like maybe my own software synthesizer or something.
Yeah. Autechre talks about that a lot. How a lot of their recent stuff, they use their own VSTs and sequencers and stuff. The way they describe it, it's like inspired me to want to try to start doing, because like there are so many things when I use pre-made stuff or stuff that isn't $300 that, and even the stuff that is $300, it comes with so much stuff that you don't need and you'll never use. So it's just like, I want to see if I could program this on my own, but I don't know. I haven't started it.
I'm going to see in a month's time, I guess.
Obviously, making your own music and then recording it, and then like having another level of control over your
like just
creative
making the stuff you use to make your music.
Yeah, that's what I think. Before I would get into programming, I'd get into circuit bending, because obviously being around the Pirates and seeing Simon's channel and like all the shit that he does with circuit bending.
Yeah, I've looked into it. I actually have a soldering iron, but I don't really have the space to use it at the moment. So
Gotta get that fume extractor. Don't want to get lung cancer.
I mean, everyone's going to get cancer at some point.
Yeah.
Even the sun cancer, so why not?
Speed it up a little bit.
Also, our solder doesn't have lead in it. I think that's illegal by now. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it actually sucks because that makes the melting point higher. But I think you can still get it, but like they're not allowed to make it anymore, so it's going to run out.
Is that like a global thing, or is that something in the Netherlands?
I think it's an EU thing.
Oh,
I'm not sure. I mean, I totally get why, because lead is pretty toxic. But
right. When I was looking into soldering, I was like, what? I thought we kind of abolished this whole thing, but
I mean, we got rid of lead in petrol and stuff. But yeah, the only thing soldering in my room is going to leave a bad smell. But yeah, the thing about like making your own stuff to make your music makes me think about Author and Punisher. I don't know if you've ever heard about it.
I have, yeah. Yeah, they tour with a couple bands that I love.
Well, it's a single guy, actually.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know that much about him.
Basically, I think it's actually classified as like doom metal, but he doesn't use any guitars or anything. But I think he's like this mechanical engineer. So he makes these huge machines he can move around, but it's just a basic MIDI controller. He just moves around all this huge gears, like at least 200 pounds altogether or something.
Holy shit.
And
Like
he just
rack stuff?
no, just basically MIDI controllers that go to his PC
Oh.
into a DAW. Just
So that's for his live show? Or?
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah, and he just has like this huge face mask full of microphones he built himself. He just screams
Shit.
into that.
Man.
It's not music for everyone, but the performance is pretty stellar.
So I don't know. Maybe I'll give it another shot. That sounds awesome. What you just explained about the moving.
Yeah, there is like this short documentary about him on YouTube. Let's see if I
shit.
can
Have to watch
find it.
Yeah.
It's only like 10 minutes long, but it gets a pretty good view about how the guy makes his music.
Do you have anything in the works right now?
Yeah, I have like a couple of projects that I've been putting off to finish. Like I made the last two albums like after I started the other ones. But I'm in the process of making some power noise. I have an industrial thing going on, but I kind of want to learn how to sing before I actually make something out of that. I have just a normal old school noise thing going on, and then a couple of collaborations.
So you're gonna put on a ski mask. You're gonna do that whole thing live. Speaking of ski masks, do you play live at all?
No, the only time I've performed live was at the Magpie Fest.
Yeah. I think you might have mentioned that.
And I play bass in a stoner metal band right now, but we've only jammed once, so we don't have any material to gig with yet.
You have a name and a logo and everything already. But...
we have a name. We don't have a logo yet, but we're getting there.
You always have the name before you actually do anything.
Yeah,
that's nice though. The stoner's great.
Yeah,
stoner metal, stoner rock.
We only jammed once. I think the second time is going to be somewhere in the middle of this month. So no gigs yet.
You mentioned doing vocals. That's always a hard thing. I struggle with that a lot. The band that I did before what I do now, I had a shit ton of problems with people saying I sounded like a cat's diarrhea, and
I mean that's not necessarily a bad thing, right?
Yeah, no, obviously, but they're to be fair to those people, I have improved since then, and like just finding your timbre is really important, and like, I mean, of course, not hurting your voice.
Yeah, of course, but from what I've seen at the Magpie Fest, I think you have a really good. So
thanks, man.
I mean, it's maybe not the conventional singing voice, but it's like nice and raw, and I think we need that in this day and age. So.
Yeah, I agree. There aren't enough people doing that vocal style outside of metal. I feel like rap, which I'm not a huge fan of the whole like screamy rap stuff, but I appreciate the idea because what I just said, like I feel like, I mean even outside of that, like metal itself, I feel like it can be a toxic environment. You know, it can be elitist and like hyper masculine and stuff like that. And
that's like the weird thing about the metal community. It's like you either have black or white. You either have people who are completely accepting about pretty much everything and everyone.
Yeah.
And then at the other end, you have this elitist pricks, and there's just almost nothing in between. Which I definitely get where that's coming from because, well, I've grown up with metal, and there's a lot of elitist people just thinking basically you're a bad person because you like a certain band or something.
Yeah, I mean those people aren't even worth considering at the end of the day. I mean those people will always be those like cranky.
I feel that they're just making life shittier for themselves.
Yeah. Really.
I mean, you don't have the type of energy to just judge people and the music they listen to.
Yeah. But a band that's I think really I like seeing, because you either have electronic music in metal or like metal stuff in industrial music and noise music. You never have them like coalescing into something different. And one of the few bands that I'm seeing right now doing that is Full of Hell. They've been doing collaborations with another metal band called The Body, and the way that it's, to me, that really excited me about it is in their own words, they're trying to approach metal and a harsh, aggressive music without muscular dudes like punching people
like Man of War.
Yeah, right. Because that's what we're doing. We're screaming about people being fucking awful people to strive to be better people, right? Like that's what we're all doing. So I
mean, I listen to a lot of power metal, and that's just stories about dragons and magic. Yeah. But I mean, I get what you're coming from.
Yeah. But the dragon, it means evil, and we're slaying evil. No, I'm kidding.
And it's just this huge penis, and
yes, the dragon cock.
Yeah. No, I know where you're coming from. I mean, there's other good stuff, but usually the dumbest stuff is the loudest, and people want easy listening and not just music they can think about often these days, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with that, but I have a hard time trying to make that a voiced priority, you know what I mean? Like I think a lot about what I say in my music, and like I have a good grasp of what I'm like fighting, I guess, in my head, you know?
Yeah.
Like what things that upset me in the world, what I want to see different and stuff, but I don't want to say like, oh, I want to make music that you can bang your head to and not be an idiot about, like, because the whole IDM thing where it's like
Oh, man.
intelligent dance music.
I hate the term IDM because
Yeah,
if you start to sing, like if you start to say about yourself that you make IDM,
yeah.
you're basically saying, "Look at me, I'm intelligent, and the rest of the people are not."
No, yeah.
And that's just this part of elitism that I just don't like at all.
But that's like the thing, like weird tie back. I'm sure you know about the Talking Heads, but they're they're funny enough. They're like a big inspiration on me, and I like the fact that in one turn you can like be moving your body to their music and like dancing, but their music is about really depressing stuff. I mean, not always, but most of their music is about, you know, the consumerism of America tearing us apart, you know?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
All right. Yeah, never really gave them a lot of listen.
It's not for everyone, but the point is that those were one of the few bands that made me realize I could make music that had that juxtaposition.
I like that in music when you know, stuff kind of contrasts each other. Like, do you know the band Flogging Molly? It's like this. It's like this. Well, the band is from California, but the singer is Irish. It's this Irish folk punk thing. So the music is always very upbeat and uplifting.
Right.
But like the lyrics are just kind of sad, you know? It's like the best way to describe the music as a whole is bittersweet, I guess. Upbeat song in a major key, and the lyrics are just about loss and grief. And I just like that in music when the style of music doesn't always dictate how the lyrics should go, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's like kind of a challenge for the people listening almost. It's like, are you paying attention? Kind of thing.
Well, I think a lot of people who listen to them don't always pay that much attention to the lyrics because it's still fun drinking and partying music.
Right.
But I just feel like sometimes the message they convey just kind of gets drowned out by the music. But yeah, I tend to just look up all the lyrics of the music I listen to. So
having that separate, I don't know. That's not an option. I feel like that's I don't know. I don't think that's up for debate though. So
I mean, I can listen to music without knowing what the lyrics are because I listen to metal and you often can't really hear the lyrics. Yeah. But you know, sometimes it's just rewarding to look it up and see what the songs are actually about.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have music like Cannibal Corpse and Hammer Smashed Face as one of their songs, you don't really have to look up what it's about, you know. But I mean, a lot of metal has a lot of like there is some really good lyricism in black metal these days, but it kind of gets lost
as long as it's not racist.
Yeah, I mean that was a thing in the 90s, but a lot of black metal isn't like that anymore.
Yeah, I know.
But I guess a lot of people are still kind of stigmatized against it.
Yeah, no, I used to be a huge fan of black metal, and I still am because, you know, kind of the nostalgia almost. It hasn't been that long. It's only been like 4 years or so since I like was really into it. But one of my favorite bands, I found out that the lead singer was like a white supremacist, and it was just
is that Burzum or a
no, not Burzum. It was Peste Noire. They're French.
I don't think I've ever listened to their music. I heard about them at some point.
See, that's the thing, is like there was this huge debate, like, oh, you know, all throughout when I found them out, the first thing I you Google is like, is Pest Noir Nazis, or are Pest Noir Nazis? Is Famine de Valfun, that's Famine Sal de, whatever his name is. I don't even remember his name now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've been like so.
I was just completely went full stop on.
I like cut myself off. But that was the thing, is I used to look up to him, like, because he shipped out all of his own packages, like when when a shipment I ordered from him was back ordered, like he threw in an extra CD. He was really fucking nice, like.
Oh wow.
And a lot of the old lyrics, based on the translations, I don't know if there's something lost in translation. Yeah. There wasn't anything specifically racist. Well, that sounds weird. But there just wasn't anything racist.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
It was like, French nationalism and French pride, which I could understand. He had like a huge thing for medieval imagery and stuff, which I also love medieval imagery.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Like the fucking guitar tones are disgusting. They're wonderful. And
like the good kind. Disgusting.
Yeah. It's just like, and there's that collision of like folk, like just genuinely good folk and metal at the same time going on.
Yeah.
And then I saw a video of him waving his band's flag and saying "White Power, White Power," and I was just like,
"Yeah,
fuck." I haven't listened to a record in a while.
Yeah,
and it's
that's
hard
fair. I mean, but if the people are actual pieces of shit, I just feel like sometimes you kind of don't have to support them.
Yeah, no, and that's the main thing is, people, some say that you can separate that. If they're just an asshole, like, someone like Steve Albini, who's just overtly opinionated and has said some like mean things to people and like hurt people's feelings.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's understandable. You can separate the art from the artist, whatever.
Yeah.
But if they're a white supremacist, like they're a band you like, you're going to end up giving them money. I don't want to give them money.
I usually already draw the line at nationalism, so
yeah.
Because I just don't like the idea of nationalism.
Yeah, I don't either. Like I'm not a patriotic person like a lot of Americans are.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's just a place where you were born and raised, nothing else.
Right, exactly. People overvalue that. It's completely by chance.
Like I haven't done anything for my country or anything to contribute why it's a good or great country. So why would I pride myself from being from a certain country when I have literally done nothing but be born there?
It's a harmful idea. I think it might lead to this is weird, but like it might lead to worse things. Like I'm not saying just because you like your country or you love your country, you're gonna like become a nationalist and fucking kill people who aren't white. But I'm just saying when you have that stigma about other countries and your country's the best, by default you're like mentally and kind of emotionally, I feel like you're leaving other countries in the dust. And it's like, why would you do that? We're all just humans. Why? Yeah. Obviously naive to say, why can't we all just hold hands and sing Kumbaya? But at the same time, it's like, isn't that what we're trying to do? Like, isn't that?
Yeah, but I mean, like the whole nationalism thing also comes back to the whole elitism thing. Like,
right.
I mean, then you inherently believe that you're better than someone else because you were born in, I don't know, fucking Belgium or something.
It's like, how does that make any sense?
I mean,
that
borders are just basically just made up by men anyway. So why change from time to time?
It would make sense if like all of our consciousness was dictated by something for certain. Like if there was a cause, like some sort of cause as to why we're born in the bodies we're born in, maybe. But we don't know that. Like no one knows that for certain. So it's just like, why would you? I mean, obviously those people aren't really the most rational people. So it's hard getting on their level, I guess.
People generally aren't rational at all. I mean, everyone is opinionated and they have every right to be so, of course. Yeah. But I mean, who am I to judge?
And I mean, like sometimes rationality isn't always the best thing. I don't know.
I mean, how?
Beauty, something that like genuinely, fires off receptors in your
Endorphins
brain.
and-
Yeah, endorphins. Like that's not rational, really. Like always, it's not always rational. At least from our current.
Not from our human point of view, but
Right.
like from our animalistic instincts.
Right.
Yes.
So I mean, rationality isn't always what it's cracked up to be, but at the same time, when you're going around killing people for no rational reason, it's like,
I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, rationality is different for every person, of course.
Right, which is
Like-
even
Like for some people, killing other people because they like it is completely rational, but
right.
it's kind of frowned upon in society, I guess.
At least it should be, I think. But that's just my rationale.
The biggest group that thinks alike is usually right in current society, of course. So if we all think murdering people is fine, then that would be completely rational. But I don't know, it's also part of how society is, I guess.
It's
Now, conforming to society's rules isn't always fun, of course, but
gotta do sometimes.
sometimes. Just to not get in jail, I guess.
Yeah. From my point of view, I wasn't born in a country where like there aren't a lot of things you can't do. You know what I mean?
Random
Like
freedom.
I like, if I have the inclination, I could do whatever I wanted, like in a romantic situation. And there are countries where you can't do that, and that's just like an awful thing. And I think both sides, both ideological sides, takes that for granted so much, because there are the people in America, who are freedom loving, Americans. They have the country flags on their front lawn, but
We don't call 911.
yeah, they don't call it. Yeah, but like they don't love freedom because they'll. I mean, this isn't everyone who's a patriot, but like there are those where it's just like complete culture shock to them that someone would be gay, and it's like, what the fuck? It's
I mean, they don't like freedom because they want to impose their ideals on everyone else. So the other people wouldn't be free to choose. Yeah, there's no arguing with these people sometimes.
It's just so much confusion, and that's what a lot of my art is about, is making fun of that, the stupid shit, just the stupid shit people do and say, and like kind of I don't know if I would call it making sense of it, because I don't think it makes sense in a lot of cases, but
just anything makes sense really. But
I mean, yeah, right, but. I don't know. That's so much fun to me, is to just mess around with the stupid things they say and do. It's that's at least a good portion of my music.
I mean, that's an angle you can take, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know how many dumb people you interact with on a daily basis, of course, but.
Well, I will tell you, I keep a spreadsheet with all their names and how many, so I know how smart I feel.
I bet you make IDM.
Yeah, I do. I only make the most. Actually, I make TM IDM. It's the most intelligent dance music. Just want to clarify that, because there is some IDM.
That's just
not intelligent.
Not up to my standards.
No. Right. Like, I feel like I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. Where it's like SIDM, super intelligent dance music.
I mean, we could make it happen, of course.
Yeah. I wanna do that before someone unironically does it. Like, where just really dumb.
To be honest, I can't even hear the difference between IDM and EDM.
Well, I mean, you know.
Well, the thing is, I didn't grow up in that kind of climate.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. So like I actually listen. Well, that's not true. I mean, I heard Skrillex before I heard like Venetian snares or something. But I grew up with
Yeah,
like
same.
breakcore and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I just always called it breakcore, and then I started seeing IDM, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" It's like, oh,
Oh,
oh, you guys are making this a pretentious thing. I see.
yeah, I basically just
Yeah.
grew up with bands from the 70s and 80s, like Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Alice
Yeah.
Cooper, like, because that's what my dad used to listen to. Well, he
Nice.
still listens to it, but
Yeah.
so I didn't know anything else before I was 14 or 15.
I grew up right when the internet wasn't dial up anymore, so like going on YouTube wasn't a shit show or
Costing you an
something.
arm. Yeah.
Right. Or like just streaming music in general. Obviously, there was streaming music before YouTube, but that was how I found a lot of the music that I listened to in like when I was 11 and 12.
Yeah, a lot of the earlier music I listened to was at my dad's house, and he just has these vinyls from the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I used to listen to it. I mean, it sounds maybe a bit spoiled that I grew up with vinyl, but
Right. No, I mean, I feel like at that point, vinyl wasn't cool, right?
it was just the way to go. It was just
Yeah.
the most convenient way to
Right.
listen to music at home.
Yeah. Vinyl wasn't cool. Now vinyl's super cool.
I mean, I have
Oh.
a small vinyl collection, but my record player is a piece of shit. But I don't know, I still like to listen to it because it feels like you're more actively listening to music rather than just opening Spotify and clicking something.
No, yeah, that's
because put it on the record player and halfway through you have to flip it around, or some albums are two LPs, so you just have to flip something around 4 times to listen to the entire album. And I think you're just paying more attention to the music if you do that, because you're actually listening to music rather than having something on in the background.
I completely agree. It makes it an experience, and that's the important part. Is like we're engaging in art in a good way, because that's something that the internet has made a lot more like accessible with visual art.
Yeah,
where like you don't have to go to a museum, which is a good thing, because museums aren't always the best fucking places. Like they're, in some cases, art galleries and stuff like that, they're, fucking dumb, and like they aren't democratized and shit.
The last time I went to an art gallery was 9 years ago, I think, or 10 years ago, maybe. So I just didn't really appreciate it, because my parents, they kind of set a goal to take me and my brother, to a art gallery or museum like twice a year.
Oh, wow.
They gave up after like a year and a half. So
Your parents sound cool though.
Yeah, my parents are really cool. My mother just, I have a lot of records from back in the days, like a couple Metallica records from the 80s and stuff. I'm just really good friends with my mother as well.
That's nice. Speaking of your parents, do you disclose your noise with them?
With my mother, yes, because she's more of an artist. She actually paints a lot as well.
Oh, cool.
But like not your conventional portraits or landscapes, just really like semi-abstract and sometimes fully abstract stuff.
Nice.
And it's really good, but she doesn't exactly get the recognition she deserves, I think, because it's not like the most conventional art you would put up in a waiting room at the dentist or something. So people won't buy it, actually. But I think it's really good.
Do you think that maybe impacted the way you view art and stuff?
Well, she always gave me like complete freedom in the artistic spectrum of things. So I guess she taught me to have just an open mind about everything. I mean, she was not like very strictly, but she was raised a Catholic, but she never imposed anything about religion on me. she just let me figure out stuff on myself.
It's really cool.
And yeah, I just have an awesome mom, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you actually
Yes.
don't see that often enough, I think. I mean, a lot of people I know, I mean, of course, they can hang around their parents, but they're not actually friends with their parents, so they can't really have intelligent conversation with them.
Yeah, I feel like I struggle with that. Though recently I talked about this on the Magpie Fest, but like Moonrise was kind of my coping with how I took for granted the way, you know, my mother, all she did for me, because there was a lot of shit she put up with, and you know, I'm one of the many children that has dealt with divorce, and she
Same.
was kind of dealt the shit end of the stick, and she fucking powered through it, and I think took that for granted. So that there's a good amount of that I had her in mind, you know.
Yeah, my parents actually had a pretty clean divorce, I guess. Well, I don't really know anything but the divorce, because they got divorced when I was like 9 months old. But you know, they can still hang around each other, birthday and stuff. And my stepdad was really cool. He basically raised me since I was like 2 years old.
It's always
I guess I'm more fortunate than others in that perspective.
Yeah, it's always an interesting thing to talk about with other artists. Like, why do you make experimental music? Is it in retaliation of your parents, or is it in retaliation of the rest of the society, or is it both?
Well,
you know.
Well, for me, I guess it's kind of that the retaliation from my mother against her parents kind of rubbed off on me, because she wanted to go to art school when she was like 18 years old, but my grandfather just didn't allow it. Well, of course there were rules and stuff when I was a kid, so I wouldn't full ape shit or anything, but she just taught me that I should believe what I want to believe, and I should do what my feelings tell me to do, so I don't grow up miserable.
Right. That's the whole point. I think.
I mean, it's not like my grandparents were bad people, but you know,
it's misguidedness. I think misunderstanding with what we're supposed to be living for, I guess, which is subjective, but I think the easiest thing to find among any human being is that we just want to be happy. And I don't think that's bad.
No. I mean, of course, there are some responsibilities that sometimes come before being actually happy, but sometimes they contribute to you being happy in the long run.
Yeah, and you know, it's not like I don't think there's eternal happiness or anything like that. I don't think there's like, you can say you had a happy life, right? Like, I don't think, I mean, that's kind of like a defeatist way of looking at it, but I feel like life isn't about being perfect. I think it's about, I don't know what it's about, but
no one knows for sure.
Right. But the expectation that you could have a happy life, I think it's one that leads to a lot of problems, where you just like, it's perfectionism, right? You know?
I think you should never really expect anything from life. I mean, anything can happen. I mean, it's like Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong at some point.
Yeah.
And you just have to accept that, and life becomes much easier.
Like, you know, the whole our behaviors that are messing with the world in an environmental capacity.
Yeah.
You know, I think that comes from our ability, or our inability to realize that perfection isn't possible. Like, everything needs to be fast, everything needs to be done, so you have to mass produce everything, and then you have a bunch of junk. What are you going to do with that junk? Just throw it in the ocean.
Just in the ocean.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
it's like, you missed the mark there.
Yeah, the thing is, perfection doesn't really exist because perfection is objective. It's not
Right.
something you can have numbers on.
Yeah.
It's not math. It's just what's hip or happening and what's what important people think is good, and that's just I don't know. It's not my style really.
Yeah, and there's definitely something that I attribute to art is that disillusionment. I feel like if I didn't grow up around the music that I grew up around, I probably wouldn't have found that out as quick as I did, and I probably wouldn't have found that out at all. I don't know. But music for me definitely helped understand, oh shit, that's wrong or that's not objective, right? And
No, because my proper musical journey, of course, started purely out of boredom because I was 17, didn't have anything to do, and didn't have a lot of friends back then.
yeah.
So I just started playing guitar. But as you start to experiment with all the sounds and you do your research and stuff, you just find a lot of things that interest you, and you start to understand that music is more than something you just listen to, I guess.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't imagine my life without music, and it's just something your soul, like in quotation marks, it's something
Right.
you need, Because music often speaks more than words, if you get what I mean.
And in some cases it can say things that words can't. Obviously there's lyricism in music and everything, but there's the instrumental music out there that doesn't need lyrics to have substance, something there, something meaningful, and that meaningfulness couldn't be achieved by adding lyrics.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. I mean, there's also music that's just vocals without any music on the background that are really powerful, but it's like the other way around, I guess.
Yeah, man. I have to get ready to do some other stuff, but it was awesome to chat with you, and
yeah, definitely.
We gotta hang out more.
yeah, definitely.
I'm looking forward to your music.
I'm looking forward to my music as well. And see what I can make.
Aren't we all? It's like you wake up one day and your music's just all done. Your album's there. It's like, oh shit!
Oh shit! I mean, I get drunk sometimes, so who knows?
Yeah, just drunkenly ruin your album. Just wake up and everything's like on Bandcamp and it's fucking just awful.
Yeah, you create a masterpiece and you just don't remember it.
Yeah, at least it was a masterpiece when you were drunk. But now, when you're sober.
Sober ears.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can delete stuff from Bandcamp, right?
Yeah. Can't delete things from people's memory though.
I mean, you can try with alcohol.
It all goes back. It's a loop. Okay. All right. I'll see you later, man.
Yeah. Cheers, dude. Yeah. Cheers, dude. Yeah. Cheers, dude. Yeah. Cheers, dude.
Magpie Pirates.